What is good, guys? It's your boy, this dude, all over again. And today we got another episode of awesome, amazing animals. And I'm really excited for this episode. Sorry if I don't seem... I've been up since 4:30 this morning, and it is 4:30 in the afternoon as of recording. I've been up all day. Y'all ain't gonna suffer. I got this. Anyways, I'm excited about this episode. This is an animal I've adored since a child. I've always just admired the incredibly docile nature of this animal. We're talking about the seahorse. Let's go! For starters, what is a seahorse? Now, a seahorse is a type of fish. Yes, it is a fish. Blew my mind. What else would it be, though? It lives in the water primarily. They come from a very small genus of animals. There's only about 45, 50 species. Unlike the spiders and stuff we covered that have 600 species, these animals don't really have too many. 50 different species. They come from a family of like pipefish and dragonfish. They're all related. Yeah, these animals are absolutely amazing. Have gone virtually unchanged for millions of years. Their fossil records look almost identical to how they look today. And with how things go with them as far as the success rate with breeding and hunting, how prolific they are, how good they are at hunting. Like, why would you have to change? These animals are so good at what they do, they don't need to change. Now, these animals are usually found in shallow tropical waters, right? A lot of tropical waters. They live in kind of like seabeds, lots of grass, seaweed. Primarily they live in groups, but they're solitary animals for the most part, which is kind of strange. Like, they live in groups, but they don't do everything together. They hunt on their own. Whenever they're ready to court and find a mate, they kind of just do that on their own time, and they remain in groups, but doing their own thing, right? I don't really know what the scientific name for that type of behavior is, but they kind of live in colonies. These animals, unlike other fish though, right? They swim upright, and I think this is personally because a lot of their habitat, they live in like tall sea grasses and stuff like that, and it's easy to move through that environment and also blend inside of that environment when you're upright. Fish land horizontally, when everything is vertical, it just stands out. You automatically stand out. But these animals, I think, are vertical because of the environments that they actually live in. They have prehensile tails, which is strange. Tails that actually grab onto things. We see this in some reptiles, a lot of mammals. Yeah, they have prehensile tails. Very rare in the fish world. I think they may be the only ones. Correct me in the comments if I'm wrong. But I think they may be the only ones with prehensile tails that actually just hold on to things the way they do. The way their skeleton is built is very strange too. A lot of our bones are more rounded. Even in other fish, the way their bones, their vertebrae and things are set up, they're more rounded. But these animals, their bone structure is square. Their spine, their tail, all the way down to the tip of their tail is square. A bunch of like L-shaped plates that kind of come together to form a square, and then it's really cool how their skeleton is built up. Their chest plates kind of move. For males, they need that because I don't know if you guys know, but the males actually carry the eggs in this species. They incubate, gestate, whatever. They give birth to the babies and have a pretty big success rate, right? A huge success rate. Scientists still don't know exactly why the male has taken on that duty, and it's been like this for millions of years. They've always done this. Me personally, I think it's just to ensure that the female is less stressed out. She takes on less stress. She doesn't have to feed, nurture, build all these eggs and then take care of all these and then deliver it. She doesn't have to do all that. She just has to make sure the eggs get to where they need to go, and then the male does the rest of the work. which is kind of cool. And like I said, they have a huge success rate when it comes to this way of actually delivering, where the male takes over most of the female duties. It's kind of cool. Like I said, the male is equipped with what they call a brood pouch, which holds all the eggs, and it moves. That's part of the reason why that chest plate moves around. It has to expand and make room for these animals. But then the female, she'll come deposit at least 1,000 up to 1,500 eggs, and most of them are hatching. Most of them, like 99% of those eggs are coming out fully formed seahorses. The males have known to kind of get exhausted delivering all of these babies. They get tired, but they have a really, really high success rate when it comes to it. Now, whenever these animals are ready to like breed or mate or whatever, the male will go through his courtship dance where he kind of just hangs around the female. His tail will touch hers and they won't quite interlock. Sometimes he'll hold on to her depending on how much current is in the water, depending on how that's going on. But he'll just kind of brush up against her and they'll dance around each other for days, hours, sometimes they say even weeks. The female, ultimately, when she's ready, she'll lift her head and start to swim up to the surface. The male instantly knows what time it is. He gets into position and she'll deposit the eggs into his chest, or into the brood pouch rather. Yeah, and then she'll go on about her business and he goes on about his. And although these animals live in kind of like tight-knit groups, they don't form pairs like some of the reptiles do. Will kind of pair off, or some of the birds will pair off and kind of mate for life. They don't really do that. Once the female deposits her eggs, her body, you know, she'll shrink down and then she'll swim off and literally go off to doing her own thing. The male, he'll swell up, you know, because he's taking on anywhere from 20 to 1,500 eggs, and he goes directly back to eating, just slamming food. Yeah, and like I said, they don't form pairs though. They'll just kind of hook up for the season and then go on about their business. Now, seahorses, and I've heard this through a lot of research, are some of the most prolific hunters on this planet. Some of the best on this earth. They get it done, boasting a over 90% rate. They get it done, right? If they attack, it's going down. These animals don't move fast though. Only having, I think, 2 vents behind their ears, like directly behind their head, and then they have a small vent that sits on their back. They don't have one that sits on their tail to help them direct or anything like that. I think that's what the ones on their head is for. They move very slowly, very slowly. So camouflage has a lot to do with how these animals boast that 90% hunt rate. They get it done. They usually just sit inside of the grass, camouflaging with the grass or the coral, depending on where they are. They camouflage with a couple different environments depending on where they live, and they just sit still and wait. They grab little plankton, small shrimp, small fish, and they use this mechanism. It's almost like mantis shrimp, how they just jump out and grab things. And it's done in a millisecond. So fast, like I said, cameras can't even really catch it. It's done instantly. But the docile nature of this animal is kind of what lends to that also. It's camouflaged, it's not very chaotic, so it doesn't move a lot, so things around it feel very comfortable. The fish around it feel very comfortable. It doesn't move very fast. With fish having a very short attention span and short memory span, they take their eye off of it for 2 seconds, they forgot it was there. It's a piece of grass now. That kind of lends to the hunting of this particular animal. It makes it real easy for them. Once they lock in on something, they slowly coast towards it with their nose, and when they get to it, it disappears. It literally just disappears, and they do this all day. These animals don't have typical stomachs like most animals do. The energy is just passed through and processed instantly, so they just do this all day. They eat all day, all the time. That's how these animals move. Yeah, they eat a lot, they hunt a lot, and with 90-some% hunt rate, it's definitely getting done. And this isn't gonna be like our normal episode where I tell you guys where to get them. We compare the price points, see how much they are from cheapest to most expensive and all of that, because these animals are struggling in captivity. They're not easy to take care of. I'm not gonna be the one recommending anybody go get them. We just gonna admire this animal or from a distance rather. We ain't worried about how much they cost. And we're not exactly sure how they're doing in the wild. As far as, when I say we, I mean the scientists. I'm not a scientist. They're not exactly sure how they're doing in the wild as far as wild populations. They know some of them are extremely prolific, and then other ones they don't see as much. That could be due to camouflaging. We can't find them as readily. It could be due to people taking them as souvenirs. People, you know, there's a lot of farming and stuff like that overseas. It could be a number of different reasons, but there are some that there are lots of, and then other species where there are not so many seen. So they aren't too clear on the dangers, their threats they have out there. They're not exactly sure. And after a little bit of research, they say that there are some people doing some captive breeding, and I already knew it. I already knew, you know, if you got people like me captive breeding reptiles and many different obscure types of reptiles, I already knew there was somebody that's been doing this. I just, like I said, I'm not gonna recommend anybody get into it. I know it's extremely difficult. I want to get into it one day, but we're gonna make sure we know what we're getting into. They said that these tanks have it like low flow to them. You know, the nice big open tanks, low flow. They said they pair well with like shrimp and stuff like that. But once again, I'm not going to be the one recommending anything like that. Just know that there are captive breeding efforts going on, and these dudes are finding great success. They're doing their thing. These animals are living just fine. Rumor is that wild caught seahorses are doing really bad in captivity, but all the captive bred specimens are doing very well. I don't know how they got these animals to acclimate, but yeah, there are people actually captive breeding, and they're finding great success with these animals. And as if these animals were not already super adorable, they come in very tiny packages. They got pygmy seahorses also that don't get any bigger than 1/8 of an inch or something like that, or 1/2 an inch. Super small. Very pretty little colorful seahorses. These things are absolutely beautiful, out of this world. And that, guys, was the research on seahorses. I'm absolutely like in love with these animals. I have been since a child. I've always wanted to keep them, but like I said, this is something I'm gonna make sure I have everything dialed in before we even dive in and get our feet wet. This is probably gonna be difficult. So I want to make sure I'm ready. But thank you guys for tuning in. I'm your boy Smith. This is All Things Living. I know that you could have been anywhere on this planet, but you decided to be here with me, and that means a lot. I appreciate it. I'm out.